If you were given the power to predict the future, what would you choose to predict? I bet all of us here, being scientists, naturally would wish to predict something for the betterment of the people around us. For me, I wish to predict the response of patients towards a medicine, just like how a magician needs this crystal ball to predict the future. We need the crystal ball of our own too, like a tool to predict how our body responds towards a therapy. Also, magicians need a so-called magic wand that could ease the process of predicting the body response. Now, there's this nasty thing called bladder cancer that usually occurs in elder people. While there is a medicine that is currently used for this cancer, most patients do not respond well to it. And if they don't, the second option is no much better too. Imagine a cancer patient comes to a doctor and they are in the crossroad of choosing if this is the best medicine for his cancer. We will say,
Pakcik Dola, pakcik ada kanser. Kanser kulit kencing. Ada satu ubat ni boleh rawat kanser pakcik. Tapi kita tak tahu kalau ubat ni betul untuk pakcik atau tak. Ada orang yang guna ubat ni dapat dirawat, tapi ada orang tak.
What do you think, how would he feel? So, it's our wish to be able to say the next thing.
Tapi, pakcik jangan bimbang. Sekarang teknologi canggih. Ambil satu test ni. Kita boleh tengok kalau ubat ni nanti berkesan pada pakcik atau tak. Kalau berkesan, pakcik boleh ambil. Kalau tak, kita boleh cuba rawatan lain.
In a sort of way, we are saying, look, we have this crystal ball. We can magically predict what will be your response towards the medicine. The already depressed cancer patients wouldn't have to be even more stressed of treatment failure. No money that goes down the drain, and we save so much time in deciding what's the best treatment option for him. Now, the next question is, where is this crystal ball? We believe that every cancer patient has this crystal ball inside their body. We believe there's protein inside every patient that can predict their response towards this medicine. If the level of the protein is high, he will respond well to the medicine. If the level of the protein is low, most probably he will fail the treatment. Now, before we can start banking on this protein to become our crystal ball, first, we need to validate and study it. For that, we set up the team of the best magicians in UM, the doctors, physicists, and molecular biologists. The doctors will test if this protein is indeed high inside the patient's body. Next, the physicists will look deeper into the atomic level of the changes in the construction orders of protein. At the same time, the molecular biologists will look at what are the regulators inside our body that regulates this protein, which means what turns the protein off and what turns the protein on. Hello guys, I'm Nabilla and I'm here to explain the metabolite characterization of cisplatin resistance regulated by FDFT1 in bladder cancer by using RAMAN spectroscopy. So to save our Pakcik Dola, Makcik Kia and every patient that needs suitable chemotherapy treatment for bladder cancer as soon as possible, we have chosen FDFT1 as our crystal ball, which is the first key enzyme in cholesterol biosynthesis. From FDFT1, we could detect if the person could tolerate or would reject the chemotherapy drug we are currently using, which is cisplatin. With this crystal ball as our predictive tool and Raman spectroscopy as our magic wand, we will strive together to gain a better understanding of bladder cancer progression until its molecular level. There will be two types of sample, the one that rejects cisplatin or we call as chemo-resistant cancer cells, and the one that responds well towards cisplatin or chemo-sensitive cancer cells. As our status, we have speculated that chemo-resistant cancer cells contain higher lipid level compared to chemo-sensitive cancer cells. So why lipid? As we all know, phospholipid as the best example of lipid can be found in our cell membranes. Lipid rafts of the phospholipid are the main hubs to initiate lipid signaling, which also one of the factors that contributes to metastasis. Decrease in FDFT1 expression leads to low in cholesterol, thus might be the reason in inhibiting the binding of anti-cancer to interfere the function of lipid raft. Since the doctors have obtained the samples, now it's time for us to analyze it.
A few moments later.
I just finished analyzing the data and this is what I got. As you can see from this phospholipid spectra, chemo-resistant Raman spectra are in a higher intensity compared to the chemo-sensitive sample of Raman spectra. From the result, the intensity of phospholipid centered at 1445 per centimeter is found to be 7% greater in chemoresistant samples. For phospholipid centered at 1655 per centimeter, the intensity level is found to be 2% greater in chemoresistant samples, while intensity of phospholipid level for chemoresistant samples centered at 1126 per centimeter is 8%.
While analyzing this data, my insecurities hits me when I suddenly thought, what if some pakcik might say,
"Kamu yakin ke mesin kamu guna ni? Apa ni? Boleh tengok saya boleh guna ubat tu ke tak?"
well, pakcik, makcik couldn't explain such complicated graph to you, but to you guys, I would love to.
So, this is the ROC curve or Receiver Operating Characteristic curve where we could determine if Raman spectroscopy can be used as the diagnostic tools or not. The area under the curve or AUC represents a measure of the diagnostic performance. The closer the AUC being to 1, the better the diagnosis value. The AUC of the ROC curve for the analysis of these samples is 0.72, indicating the Raman spectroscopy analysis can act as an excellent method to discriminate between responsive and resistance of human bladder cancer tissue towards cisplatin.
Finally, we can conclude that lipid metabolite can be used to determine the FDFT1 regulation towards cisplatin resistance in bladder cancer. Also, it has been decided that Raman spectroscopy can be used to assist in recognizing the pathways of bladder cancer and as a feasible complementary diagnostic tool to extract molecular information from bladder cancer samples. That's all from me.